Monday Night Football. The Philadelphia Eagles are in Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. Today I got my favorite player prop and game pick for this contest on Monday Night Football. The first of two games we got. Let's crush prime time. But first, I have to, on a somber note, we got to recap what we did on NFL Sunday on week 3. It was a terrible week. I think my worst week ever betting football over the last 4 years. It was a bad day. Let's talk about the games. 1 and 2, just didn't get anything going. 3 and 5, losing both of our 1.5 unit props. Just brutal day. 4 and 7 overall, dropping us to minus 5.26 units on the year. Like, it's a terrible week. No one wants to hear me come up here and give excuses left and right. There were some really bad breaks and there are some bad reads. Overall, just a really bad week. Like I said, I think it was my worst week ever betting NFL. Only way to go is up. We got to dial it back in. Hopefully, you guys still have faith in the picks. I really like the picks I cooked up in this video. We have a separate video for the second game on the slate, which will be the Rams versus Bengals. I'll post that one right after this video, so go check it out. I'll link it at the end of this one, as well as down below in the description and in the pinned comment. Go show some love to that video. I have a player prop that I absolutely love over there. But look, I'm not going to make excuses for Sunday. Let's just forget about it. Let's move on, learn from it, and let's dial in on Monday, go 2-0 in this video, and dominate the other video. And I'm going to start with my player prop. It's the same game parlay, but there's a clear pivot of a guy that I really like on Monday night, because it's going to be this one. I'm riding with Chris Godwin, 25-plus receiving yards, and A.J. Brown, 60-plus receiving yards, minus 116 on FanDuel as a same-game parlay. Now, personally, I play this right around a minus 130. I don't really think the odds change a ton on something like this, which is good, because sometimes if I give out a prop, it might go up a couple yards. But the clear pivot here is if you're like Austin, I'm on a daily fantasy app like PrizePicks or Sleeper or Underdog Fantasy. The clear pivot is A.J. Brown's over in receiving yards. Obviously, Chris Godwin's line is nowhere near 25 yards. However, I like obviously reducing A.J. Brown down to 60+. His line is 67.5 last year. He landed on between 60 and 67 twice, landed on 59 yards once, which we'll talk about in a second. I kind of like this as a little bit safer. It's basically the same odds as taking A.J. Brown's regular over, and I really don't think Chris Godwin's going below 25 receiving yards. And if that happens, just know I will be in pain watching the game on Monday night. But let's talk about Chris Godwin, the guy that I've kind of used to reduce the value on A.J. Brown, because Chris Godwin will need 25 receiving yards, and that's something he's done in 24 of his last 25 games. He's been super consistent regardless of who's been at QB, and his only miss actually was 24 yards on the dot. So this season, we've seen him have a decent connection with Baker Mayfield, 51 and 58 yards. And honestly, I don't like this matchup for Mike Evans against Darius Slay and the Eagles cornerbacks. I mean, they're going to try to, Mike Evans, shout out to him, a great start to the year last week, went absolutely berserk. But end of the day, they're going to have a tough matchup against Darius Slay, and I think he's going to struggle in this match. But even if Mike Evans goes off, we've already seen Chris Godwin be able to get 25-plus receiving yards. He's going to be that guy that's kind of in those pockets, that zone coverage, not running far down the field, just going for those short routes. Maybe he gets 4 receptions. I think he can easily get 25-plus yards against the Eagles. I really think he will get that. And then the other guy that we're really relying on the bulk of this play is going to be A.J. Brown, who I like to bounce back after a rough week 2. But let's talk about A.J. Brown. So far this year, it's 79 receiving yards in week 1. In week 2, like I said, not a great week, 29 receiving yards. Now, he did have a touchdown callback. That was about a 25-yard touchdown. I believe that was called back due to, holding or something like that. But last week, we saw the Eagles, they didn't need to pass the ball. When they passed it, Devontae Smith had 131 receiving yards. And when they ran the ball, they just absolutely destroyed the Vikings, 259 rushing yards. So, look, at the end of the day, this is the Buccaneers team that notoriously over the past, this year, last year, the year before, a very good rushing defense. And they're going to have their hands full with, obviously, Jalen Hurts in the backfield behind him in that offensive line by the Eagles. But this is still a Buccaneers team allowing the 6th fewest rushing yards per attempt over the first 2 weeks of the season. And last year we saw when A.J. Brown had a bad game, he normally bounced back. Now, there was some controversy that he was in Jalen Hurts' face, but they're apparently very good friends. Obviously, quarterback and wide receiver 1. He already said nothing to come from that, but we've seen notoriously the Eagles, when a guy has a bad week, they try to get the ball in his hands the next week. We saw that, when Dallas Goedert had 0 yards, they gave him 6 or 7 receptions the next week. I imagine A.J. Brown gets peppered with targets early in this game. And last year we saw in 17 games with the Eagles, Brown, 60-plus receiving yards in 13 of 17 games. One of the misses was with 59. He only went under in back-to-back games once, and that was one of the games when he had a 59 yards. So it's normally a guy that when he has one bad game, he normally bounces back with a really good game. I think he hits his regular over in receiving yards, but on the off chance, based on my luck so far this weekend, that he ends with 60 to 63, 64 receiving yards, and I'm just going to be in pain. I think this is a good way to play it. I also like A.J. Brown's over in receptions, but that was a little bit too juiced. We know A.J. Brown could sometimes just get one catch and be, 60-yarder. He has that talent. I really do like the same game parlay that I've put together. Chris Godwin, 25-plus receiving yards. A.J. Brown, 60-plus receiving yards, minus 116 on FanDuel. I'm going to roll with it, but let's keep it moving to who I think wins this game and what I'm taking for my game pick, what I'm putting my own money on. And I want to put a unit on this exact play. I'm going to take a same game parlay, which will be an Eagles money line and the alt under at 54.5 points, -110 on BetMGM. Now, if you're on DraftKings, it's about -125. BetMGM or Bet365 about the same. FanDuel really juiced on this play. You can drop it to 52.5 for the over under, or maybe move Eagles to like -2.5. But I'd rather just take this straight up. I think we're getting great value on BetMGM, and I'm going to keep rolling with it. This gets entered really as a same game parlay. It's more like taking a teaser, and we've done really well on teaser type game picks this season. We're 3-0 so far, kind of finding a little bit of rhythm there. Maybe that's what we try to go to next Sunday. But look, we're trying to go to 4-0, and my lean, if you're like Austin, I can't do same game parlay type things in my book, I would lean the Eagles and the Eagles spread -4.5, and I would lean the full game under, which is about 45.5, I believe. But this is obviously a little bit safer, assuming the Eagles can get the victory. Then we're just leaning the under at 54.5, which I think has a good shot. Now, let's talk about both these two teams. They entered the game 2-0. I mean, the Eagles were expected to be pretty good this year. The Buccaneers are surprised. They're 2-0, but you look at the competition, Patriots and Vikings for the Eagles, and the Buccaneers coming off the Vikings and Bears. So you see they both play the Vikings, and you see the Patriots, Bears, honestly, the two teams that haven't been really that good. Patriots are better than the Bears. That's my not so bold prediction after what happened on Sunday to the Bears. But still, this is an Eagles defense finally getting healthier. Last week, they gave up a ton of points on Thursday Night Football. Got a lot of guys missing in that game. They've had over a week to get ready for this one. Got a lot of guys returning, and we've seen this Eagles defense bounce back. Last week, 28 points in week 2. The Eagles defense last year, when they allowed 28 or more points, the following week, they allowed 10, 16, and 7 when Jalen Hurts was under center. So, look, at the end of the day, I don't expect this defense to give up a ton of points. And while the Eagles can put up some points, their offense is not nearly as good on the road. Tampa Bay will have their game plan with Todd Bowles. He's always a good defensive-minded coach. So that's why I leaned the full game under. But I think we're taking an under at 54.5. I think that's pretty solid. I think the Buccaneers are a pesky team. They've obviously, Baker Mayfield has improved this season. He's looking good, but I just don't trust Baker on prime time. We've seen Baker struggle, in fact, on Monday Night Football. He's 0-4 straight up and against the spread in his last 4 Monday night games. And we've seen Bowles really struggling after going 2-0 to start the year, which he's done twice, now 3 times. He's lost at home in week 3. So hopefully that trend continues for Todd Bowles. But I believe this Eagles team is much better than the Buccaneers. So I will take the Eagles on the money line. I don't want to lay the spread, but you can if you want to. I'll take an alt under at 54.5. I don't see this being a super high scoring game. 2 pretty solid defenses. Eagles defenses have a lot of time to prepare. Could see Baker Mayfield making some mistakes in the red zone, maybe having to settle for 3, which obviously helps the over under. I think the Buccaneers defense can at least hold the Eagles in check and not let them drop, a 40 piece on their head. And even if they do drop a 40, we got a lot of wiggle room with this under 54.5. So I'm going to ride with the Eagles money line, just lead on the win straight up. And the under 54.5 points is a same game parlay, -110, just the same odds as taking the spread. I just think this is a little bit safer, assuming, maybe a backdoor comes in and maybe Baker Mayfield's driving, they're down 11 and maybe scores a touchdown, and that's how they backdoor the spread. I really like this play. I think it's a really good one. We'll take Eagles money line and the alt under 54.5. I know the regular under is like 45.5, but I think this is a little bit safer. Go Eagles, and let's cash this under as well. But those are my 2 favorite picks. Let me know your favorite picks down below in the comment section down below. I'm curious what you guys are riding with. Hopefully you guys are still riding with me. We're going to have a great NFL season. We haven't had a negative season ever. We've always been profitable by above 20 units. We're going to do that again. Obviously, we dug a little bit of a hole, but we got plenty more football to dig back out of that. And hopefully we have a 2-0 Monday Night Football. And we have one more pick in that Bengals-Rams game. I'll link the video up on the screen. Go check it out. Go show it some love. We're going to go dominate that game as well. Appreciate you guys as always for tuning in. I'm Austin, and I'm signing out. Peace.